Hi, and welcome back to Bonding with the Book, Chapter Book Edition, The Unicorn Rescue Society. Doo, doo, doo. Today, we're going to be reading Chapter 6. But before we dig in, you already know what we do first. We start every day with a joke. Here is our joke of the day.
Our joke for today is, what does a cloud wear under his raincoat?
Well, do you know the answer to the joke? I've got an idea.
Thunderwear!
That was another good one. Kind of corny, but I like corny.
Now it's time for our Chapter 5 recap.
In Chapter 5, we learned a lot about the setting of the Pine Barrens. First, we learned about why it was called barren in Chapter 4, but in Chapter 5, we leaned into the idea that this is a swamp also. Let's dig in a little deeper and explore that idea. Now, digging in deeper in our setting, we learned a lot about one specific plant in Chapter 5. That plant was the pitcher plant. Do you remember the pitcher plant? There was something very special and unique about it. Do you remember? Do you have an idea? I'll tell you. I'll wait and let you tell me first. Well, if you said it is a carnivorous plant, you hit it, boom, right on the nose. If we can't find it, we look in our book. So if we crack open our spine and turn to page, did you find it? Do you know what page I'm about to say? I'm gonna make it a secret and I'm just gonna whisper it to you. 24. Yes, on page 24, it says in the paragraph that starts with Professor Fauna, if you look at the very last two sentences, this children is a pitcher plant. It is carnivorous, which means it eats meat. Whoa, I know you were reading that like, what? A plant that eats meat? That's definitely made up. Well, it's not. Even in our world, the real world, the world that we live in, there are lots of carnivorous plants. I'm going to show you 3 right now. Now, unlike the plants in the book, most of our carnivorous plants aren't poisonous, but that was something that was very special and shocking for us to find out. You shouldn't just guess, oh, it's poisonous. And the teacher and Miss Vole was like, no, it's not. But what did Professor Fauna say? Yes, it is. It is, in fact, poisonous. So they're on a field trip in a barren woods that also has a swamp with poisonous meat-eating plants. What else is going to happen in these woods? Well, before we actually read chapter 6, let's go ahead and start guiding our thinking to what we're going to explore today.
Before we start reading Chapter 6, let's get our minds ready and in the right place so we can be ready to go on this adventure and get our thoughts in line with what's happening in the chapter. What is a phrase or saying you say all the time?
One of the sayings I say all the time is facts and gotta go. Last one, really? I use those all the time. Oh, and I forgot awesome sauce. Love that one. Those are phrases I say all the time. What are some that you say?
Do you have a friend that is super curious? Who are they and tell me all about them?
While I don't have a super curious friend as an adult, I have a super curious kid. My son is super duper curious. He likes to research and investigate and find the answers and how things work and why they are the way they are. So, my super curious person in my life is my son.
Now it's time to read. I invite you to cozy up and get ready as we lean into Chapter 6 of the Unicorn Rescue Society. Professor Fauna led the class through the dark marsh where the sky became just a small gray sliver between the pines. In the olden days, he was saying, they found iron in the rivers and smelted it at furnaces. But today, they mostly grow cranberries and blueberries. And those Christmas decorations I mentioned, pine cones, laurel, holly. Elliot and Uchenna had fallen to the back as they gazed at the gloomy swamp. A dragonfly buzzed between them. Somewhere, a branch crackled and fell to the wet earth. Then, deep in the trees, something growled. Elliot stopped walking. Good gracious, he whispered. Uchenna cocked her head. Did you just say good gracious? Elliot blushed. Yeah, my grandma won't let me use words worse than that. Suddenly, growling erupted into an angry snarl. Elliot's body went rigid. Uchenna's eyes grew wide. What is it? Uchenna whispered. Bobcat. Are you sure? Uchenna's voice was barely a breath. No, could be a bear. A bobcat or bear. Right, or a tiger. Tigers live in the pine barrens? If someone let one out of its cage, maybe. So, you have no idea what it is, Elliot. That is correct. The snarling continued. Now, though it was mixed with whimpering, Uchenna scanned the forest. The sound seemed to be coming from the deep brush to the right. The class had gotten very far ahead of them on the path. Let's check it out, Uchenna said. What? Elliot hissed. Are you kidding? I'm fairly confident it's either a bobcat or a bear. My tiger theory is far-fetched, admittedly, but Uchenna wasn't listening. She checked to make sure Professor Fauna and Miss Vole weren't looking. They were already around the bend and out of sight. Uchenna stepped off the path, slid between two dense brushes, and disappeared. Elliot stared after her, completely dumbfounded. Of course, he muttered to himself. I have one friend at my new school, and it turns out she's got a death wish. He waited. He began to chew on a fingernail. He looked down the path to see if someone was coming back to get them. He hoped they were. They weren't. He chewed his fingernail some more. All of this took about 3 seconds, and then a scream shattered the stillness of the woods.
That's my reaction to the chapter. I don't know what to say. Like, he says it's poisonous and it's a trap. Now what? This is some really strange stuff going on. They're in the woods, they're walking around. We still don't know what's happening, and they're just out there. What is going to happen? So, my whole thought at the end of chapter 6 is, what's gonna happen next? I guess we'll have to keep reading to find out. Let's get to our end of the chapter question.
Our end of the chapter question is, which character are you most like, Elliot or Uchenna, and why?
Well, which one are you more like? Are you a little more cautious like Elliot? Are you more daring and outspoken like Uchenna? Are you more like Professor Fauna? Or are you Miss Vole, just loud and squeaky? Although I asked about Uchenna and Elliot, which character do you feel like you're like? I can't wait to hear from you to find out. You know we can't leave without our final thing that we do every single chapter. Yes, we need to predict what we think is going to happen in chapter 7. Honestly, I have no idea. It could be anything. Some crazy animal could come out. They can fall into the swamp and drown. There could be some monster. Somebody could get poisoned. Somebody could get bit. I have no idea, but I have a few guesses. What about you? What do you think is going to happen in chapter 7? Well, thanks for reading with me. We have successfully finished chapter 6 in the Unicorn Rescue Society. I haven't seen any unicorns. I don't know who this society is, but I am interested to find out what happens. I'm looking forward to reading with you in chapter 7. See you next time. Bye.